Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Simi Kemza James. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a sleeveless cold shoulder A-line dress. It's also a shift dress. So guys, to run you through what we're going to be needing, we'll most definitely be needing a tape, a chalk, a pair of scissors, a fine iron to press down our fabric neatly, and then these fabrics we're going to be needing using this. You can see guys, this is very beautiful. This is from my Ankara collection, Timi Kemza James on Instagram, and I'm going to be using a little bit from this print also, just to make the cold shoulder and a little ruffled design in front of the dress. So this is it guys, let's get into sewing proper. So guys, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric in four, you can see, like so. Then I left this side for zip allowance. If you don't want to add a zip, you can totally omit that. So I'm going to go ahead to mark my neckline now. So for my neckline, on this line I'm marking my 3 inches 8 inches standard for neckline. You can see my 3 inches 8 inches. Then on the 8 inches mark, I'm coming down by 1 inch, like so. So I'm going to go ahead from there to mark my horizontal measurement. So from my shoulder to my bust, I'm going to mark that. To the under bust, I'm going to mark that. To my affluent, I will mark. Then to my hip line, I will mark. I'm coming over here to mark the same thing. On this side, I'm coming over to mark again my bust point, my under bust, my affluent, and my hip line. So I'm just going to connect that. I'm going to come back to do the length of my dress, but because of the space of my table, I don't have enough space. So by the time I'm done drafting, I'll move the fabric so that I can do the hem for you to see. So I'm just going to rule those lines into straight line. Then I'm connecting my neckline to my neck depth. Then I'm extending it from the neck depth. The reasons being that my shoulder line is more than that, although I don't even need it because it's a sleeveless top. So I'm marking my 3 inches for my neck depth. You can see I'm marking 3 inches. So I'm going to connect that 3 inches to this line here, which is my shoulder line. I'm going to connect my 3 inches like so. Then I'm going to mark from here. I'm going to mark 8 inches for my armhole line, 8 inches there. So I'm just going to connect this into a straight line as well. Then I'll be marking this same 8 inches that I have here so that I can connect that into a straight line. Just going ahead to connect my line. Then I'll find, ordinarily my armhole is supposed to be 8.5 or 9 inches, but I'm using 8 inches because it's a sleeveless top and I don't want my armpit showing. So I'm going to find the midpoint of this side. Then I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. Then I'm just going to use I'm going to insert my horizontal measurements. So for the bust, I'm going to mark it here. Then 1 inch for ease because it's a free dress, 1 inch sewing allowance. Then I'm going to connect my points like so. Now it's a sleeveless top, so I don't want my shoulder to be that wide. So what I have here is 5 inches. That's from my neck point to my shoulder point. Here is 5 inches. So I'm going to take out 2 inches from there. So I'm marking here 2 inches, taking out 2 inches from there. Then I'm going to connect that with this 1/2 inch point that I went in. Now the only reason why I'm doing that is because this is a sleeveless something. I want it to be cold shoulder, so that's why I'm doing that. So now this is my bust point, my under bust, and my affluent. So I'm going to put in my affluent measurement divide by 4. Then I'm adding 1 inch for ease, 1 inch sewing allowance. Then on my hip point, I'm going to mark my hip measurement divide by 4. The reason why I'm dividing by 4 is because I have I folded my fabric into 4, so I'm marking my hip divide by 4 plus 1 inch for ease, 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect my points. Just going ahead to connect my points. So this is it about the upper drafting. So I'm going to just move my fabric so that I can do the length of my dress. So for the length, in the total length of the fabric, I'm going to take out 5 inches, or let's do 4. I don't want the dress to be really short, so I'm taking out 4 inches, which means this fabric comes by 46. So which means plus my hemming allowance, when I take out 4 inches here, my length for this dress, the total is going to be 42. Then when I take out my sewing allowance, it's going to be 40. So the dress length is eventually going to be 40. So on my hip line, because it's an A-line dress, on my hip line, I'm just going to measure what I have here. I have 14 inches here for my hip. So I want it to like sort of flay out a little bit. So I'm going to make it 16 or 15.5 inches on the hem side of the dress. I'm just going to connect that point here like so. So I'm just connecting it like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut. Cutting up my zip side out. I'm just going to keep my ruler aside. Now for my back neckline, I'm not going to make it 3 inches, so I'm going to make it 1.5. So I'm just marking that 1.5 and curving it out. For the front, I want it deeper than 3, so I'm just going to make that 4 inches. 4 inches like so. Then I'm just bringing down the depth to that point. Cutting out my armhole. The shoulder. I'm going to cut out my back neckline first. Always cut out your back neckline first so that you don't make mistakes when cutting out your front. Then my front will follow. Just going to move this to cut out my bodies. this is my fabric that is left. So you can see I'm just going to go ahead and mark my zip line, notch my zip point. So this is my dress, the bodies. I'm just going to cut my cold shoulder now. So I'm using these prints to cut out my cold shoulder. So what I'm going to be doing here is very easy. I'm just folding this like so. So it's just the hem point that I'm going to use, the hem of this fabric. I don't need so much fabric. So on the hem like so. Or let me just do it like this. I'm going to cut out strips. I'll bring my ruler and cut out 2 strips that are like 4 inches or 4.5 inches long. Marking 4.5. That's because I'm going to need to hem that. Let me see. After hemming, let me just do 5 inches so that after hemming I'll still have something reasonable there. Do 5 inches, then I'm going to connect my points together. So I have this piece. I'm going to cut another one because I'll eventually join